You made it. Welcome to Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast. I'm Tim Villegas.
And I'm Ariel Nissenblatt. On this show, we're all about podcast trailers. We just love them. We think they're great, and we think you'll think they're great too. This show is brought to you by FanList. Go to fanlist.com/trailerpark to see FanList in action. FanList allows you to create a fan page for your podcast where listeners can stay in touch with you, leave voice messages, and even tip you for your hard work.
On this show, we'll hit play on a podcast trailer. How do we choose these trailers? Great question. There's a submission form on our website. And for the past year or so, you've been submitting nonstop. We've had over 300 submissions to choose from.
So you'll hear a trailer. We keep them short and sweet. Then we'll come back to discuss that trailer. We'll discuss what worked, what didn't, what we liked, what we could do without.
We teased the trailer we're about to play at the end of last week's episode. If you missed that episode, we shared the trailer for a show called Creative Architects, hosted by Angelo Hollowell and distributed by Castos. Check back in your feed for our analysis of that one.
And right at the end of that episode, I mentioned that we'd soon hear about a show that covers dad tears. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's find out.
Hit the tape, Ariel.
When it came time to be a full-time stay-at-home dad, I struggled with how society viewed me and how I viewed myself. There are many things American society deems valuable for men. We're supposed to be providers, making the bulk of the family income. We're supposed to take charge, dominating others in the workplaces, the sports field, the gym. Modern American mythology reveres men who pull themselves up by their bootstraps, creating something from nothing, not men who spend nights pumping their baby's legs back and forth to relieve gas. Being a stay-at-home parent isn't easy. You're a teacher, entertainer, zookeeper, circus trainer, cleaning service, chef, and more. There are no sick days, and the job is constant, even at night. Some days it's all screaming, mind-numbing torture. Some days you need a break. And there's a stigma against dads doing a job that isn't valued in our society. In the end, I'm a dad. I'm not the plucky side character in my child's life. I'm their hero. Fatherhood is a beautiful thing, and one of the first things I realized about being a father is that they don't talk enough about mentally what obstacles you'll face. I consider myself a fairly strong person emotionally and mentally, and yet still, even to this day, find myself grasping at my own self-worth. Join me, the humbled stay-at-home father of a 2-year-old son and a 7-month-old daughter, on Dads Cry 2. As I share both my personal journey of being a father as well as the stories of fathers all across the world, so that together we can change the definition of masculinity and what it means to be a father for the better.
Tim, you're a dad. I'd love your initial thoughts on this trailer, not from the craft perspective, but from the content, the emotional perspective. How did it make you feel?
I felt seen, Ariel. Is that weird?
No, that's important.
Sometimes I feel like dads, we get overlooked in content creation.
There's a lot of mommy bloggers. There's a lot of mompreneurs. What about dadpreneurs? Of course, they're just the men in the boardroom, but you know, yes, I understand what you're talking about. Dads talking about dad stuff, definitely less common.
Yeah. So I want to be part of dad podcasters and dad threads. And
you want to have a dad pod bod?
I want to have a dad pod bod. Yeah, let's do it.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important and nice. So dad tears, totally into it. And let me be clear. Dad tears are different from tears of Tim. You know what I mean? Like what I'm talking about. When was the last time you cried about being a dad?
Oh, gosh.
Or as a result of being,
interesting.
A father?
Interesting. Here's an example. My oldest daughter is going to go to college in the fall.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, I know. And so when I think about that or something reminds me of that, it's usually something I'm watching or listening to. Then I will get choked up. And so probably, you know, when we're moving her in, there will be some dad
Yeah.
tears.
Oh, that's a big one. That's when the waterworks start. I cried the entire time that I moved into college. Every year. Thank you for sharing your emotional thoughts on this trailer. I am in a moment going to ask you about the craft of the trailer, what we like, what we didn't like. But first, let's give some context on the show. The show is called Dads Cry Too from Not Today Media. Here is a description of it. Join host JD as he navigates the joys and challenges of raising little humans, told through his firsthand account as a Montessori father of 2. There are 12 episodes out at the time of this recording, and titles include Let's Pause and Be Grateful, Why We Shouldn't Cancel the Big Guy in Red, don't know what that's referring to, but I'm curious, and Why Interacting with Your Kids Matters. So that's just a little bit of context as to what goes on in the show. And now let's get into our takes on the trailer, which was a 2-minute trailer with 16 seconds of music before the actual words within the trailer start. So that was my number one criticism, is way too long on that. What about you?
I really wanted to hear the narrator right away, but I love the music choice. This trailer could have been under 2 minutes, and the only other sound design advice would be to have some sort of noise reduction or noise gate, because I could definitely hear the room with his microphone.
That's a good point. And shout out to noise gates, because you mentioned them on last week's episode, but also right before we started recording this episode, I was being interviewed by Doug Frazier for the Noise Gate newsletter that Podcast Movement puts out. But yeah, noise gates abound. I also would recommend some sort of deadening of the background noise, which of course you can do with Descript Studio Sound, not to be a corporate shill, but here I am. We corporate shill for Descript all the time, you and I.
She's a company woman.
Okay, what did we like about this trailer?
I can tell JD is passionate about this topic. It came across really well in his copy. I learned right away that masculinity would be reframed. So to me, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's a reframing show. Something that I think JD did really well here is, we talk a lot on this show about when in doubt, when you're making your trailer, you should spoon feed your listeners. And JD did something really interesting, which is that towards the end of the trailer, he gives us a sense of how the show is going to shake out without telling us there will be interviews and there will be solo episodes. Instead, he says, sometimes you'll hear from me, sometimes you'll hear the stories of other dads. And I think, as much as I love a spoon feed, sometimes it's nice to get that information in less of a direct way. And I think he did a great job at that.
Yeah. And I think he comes across like somebody you want to know, which, as far as advice goes, the whole be yourself.
Everyone else is taken. That was my 8th grade yearbook quote.
I know it's cliche, but that's the thing, though. It's like, if you're not authentic, you're going to come across not authentic.
Yeah, we can tell. I must come back to the fact that the trailer is over 2 minutes long, not the worst thing in the world in and of itself. But like we mentioned, 16 seconds at the beginning, music, and then 21 seconds at the end, music. I don't need that. We don't need that.
You don't need it. Just fade out.
We don't need it. Fade on out.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the fade.
Let's go back to positive. Let's end this on a positive note. What else do we like about this trailer? I think this trailer is written really well. It's clear that it's not JD hopping on the mic and saying a few things about this podcast because he knows that he needs to get a trailer out. It's clear that he wrote something specific for this trailer. And you can tell one of the things that stands out to me is that he says, I'm not some plucky side character. I really like that. I thought that was very visual. So shout out to JD for really taking the care to bring us in with his writing. And then, Tim, you saw an opportunity for improvement. So let us know what that is, and then we'll wrap up our analysis of this trailer.
I think with any sort of trailer, you want to make sure you know where your audience can listen to your podcast. And when. Yeah, the frequency. You don't always have to say it, but I'd like to know, is it a weekly show? Is it going to be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts where I like to listen to podcasts? Where is the podcast going to live so that I know where to find it? So I think that was a missed opportunity.
Never a missed opportunity, because as we said in last week's episode, you can always update your trailer. I think that's going to be the tagline. Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast. You can always update your trailer. You are never locked in.
Oh, I had this idea because you have a trailer for earbuds, right?
Technically, I do. I don't think it's great. I think it definitely needs some
I made
updating.
Yeah, because my weekly podcast Think Inclusive has a trailer that I made probably before or maybe right when we started the show last season. So we should have like a update our own podcast trailer challenge.
Ooh, I love that
Right?
idea. Yeah, listeners, let us know if you want to join in on that challenge for your podcast.
Ooh, this is
could
good.
really be
This
a
is
thing.
good. This is good. I like it.
Good job, Tim. That's why we keep you
All right,
around.
Ariel, I challenge you to update your
I challenge
podcast
you.
trailer.
To a duel. Love that. And I challenge our listeners to submit their trailer to us. Did you know that JD sent his trailer in by going to trailerparkpodcast.crd.co? So did last week's trailer creator, and you can do that by going to trailerparkpodcast.crd.co. Submit your trailer there. We will check it out. We will consider it for next season. We're going to be back next week with another trailer for your listening pleasure. And there are ways that you can stay in touch with us, Tim.
You can email us at hello@trailerparkpod.com.
And you can also see images of the social things that we're doing on Instagram. And what's that handle?
trailerpark_pod.
Tim, a quick rundown on what else to expect this season. In the coming weeks, you're going to hear podcasts on sleep, on chess, on dogs eating book reports, and a lot more. So definitely stay tuned. And we are very open to criticism. We have to be, because we criticize. And one place that you can criticize us, nicely, of course, is in our reviews on Apple Podcasts or by leaving us a star rating on Spotify.
All comments welcome.
We will catch you next time. Until that next time,
Happy trails.
happy trailering.
Happy trails.
Hey, I'm glad you're still here because we simply must tell you about the brands and services that make this show possible.
FanList is our newest sponsor. If you go to fanlist.com/trailerpark, you can see our fan page. There, you can send us a tip, ask us a question, record a voice clip, and more. It's a really cool way to stay in touch with us and to support us if you so choose. Go to fanlist.com to learn more about creating a fan page for your podcast.
We are also sponsored by OSHA. They're the folks that host our show and so much more. OSHA is great because it's more than just a hosting provider. They really prioritize the marketing aspect of podcasting. They have a tool called Podcast Search Optimization, in which you can actually do keyword research right within their platform. So you can find out what folks are searching for as they are coming across your podcast. Try OSHA for yourself. Go to OSHA.co. That's AUSHA.co.
This show is written and edited by us, Ariel Nissenblatt and Tim Villegas.
Our music is from Melody. That's MELOD.IE.
Our logo is by Kaio Slikta.
We record the show on Squadcast and we edit in Descript because we are in our corporate chill era.
That's it. Happy trails.
Happy trails.
Corporate chill era.
All right, I think we have a number of bloopers this time
So
around.
many bloopers.